What exactly is the danger of loneliness? One of my least favorite like things that people like talk about on the internet is that like that lone wolf mentality, and like people like they find like pride in that, but like that's not good for you, right?
No, it's not good for you. And so, look, there are many species that don't have any connection needs at all because they don't need connection. And why would you pay the price of having all the competition with other members of your species and all this trying to find space and all and diseases? Why pay that price if you don't have to? And so, snow leopards are a perfect example. They don't need other snow leopards to help them with their hunt. And so, once they grow up, especially the males, the females, of course, keep raising young, but the males just spend their entire lives alone. And that's when they're happiest. But humans are not snow leopards. We're a gregarious species who evolved to solve all of our problems by working with others. And so if you're a lone wolf, what you sacrifice all sorts of things about how we evolved. Many of them are just the fundamental feelings of happiness you gain when you're around other people. But some of them are even, it's bizarre, but even your sense of self starts to deteriorate. And so there's some really interesting studies where you look at people who decide to go off the grid and they live in a shack in the middle of nowhere for years. And they start talking about how they kind of lost a sense of who they were. Now why would that happen? Well, the way we understand the evolution of the self is that it's this machine for monitoring your reputation. I need to behave in a certain way so that Brian will trust me when we go on hunts together, so he'll look out for me when I get sick, so he'll do the things that humans do for each other. And so I have to behave in a reasonable way, and I have to look out for how I've been behaving all the time, and my sense of self guides that. Well, without other people around, there's no need for that. And so a lot of what we regard as fundamental and inside us really is actually this mirror, this reflection of our place in the world and how we interact with others.
Yeah, it's funny because like people go on like these solo trips or something to like to find themselves, but what you're saying is that like the opposite happens.
That's right. And so there's nothing wrong with like a 2-week solo trip to find yourself if you're so immersed that you can't decide what you really want. Like what do I want to do for a living, or am I really, like, I remember a friend of mine taking this 1-week walk, this beautiful walk through Tasmania, just to decide if he really wanted, if his marriage was working out. And that kind of thing makes sense because in the buzz of humanity, it can be very difficult to say, well, what do I really want, right? That too can get lost. But in actual fact, too much time alone and your sense of self disappears as well. And so a short trip to find yourself, great idea. Constant time alone to find yourself, you're going to have the opposite effect. You're going to lose yourself.
Is happiness more of what happens to us in the external, or is it more of how we react to it in our internal?
Yeah, it's both, right? And so you can have somebody who a great thing happens to them in the outside world, and let's say you've been working really hard and hoping to get that raise, and you get that promotion and raise, and you're really happy. So you're out with your friends, and you say, "Hey, man, I just got a 25% promotion, and I'm now manager." And your best friend says, "Awesome! I just got a 50% promotion, and I'm general manager." Instantly, you're bummed out. You're like, oh my God, my crappy little raise and my crappy little promotion. And so it's this combination of what happens to you and how you respond to it, but also how it reflects about what your expectations are in the world. And so if you set your sights too high, and this comes back to your earlier point, I can watch people on the web doing crazy things or being crazy rich, successful, whatever you want, right? And if that's my goal, well, probabilistically, I'm never going to get there. I might, somebody will, but probabilistically, it won't be me. And so as a consequence of that, we do get happier as we approach our goals, but if I never feel like I'm approaching it enough, I'm going to be permanently unhappy. But somebody else who maybe didn't aspire to quite so much, or somebody else who savors the progress along the way, could live that exact same life. You know, your identical twin who savors progress and didn't quite set the goal so high could be happy the entire time. And so really it's the combination of those two things. What the life that you actually live, and then how you appraise that existence, what it means to you.